1. Winning the war on food inflation. GS Paper 3, Indian Economy, Inflation. Why is it in news recently? The bigger worry for RBI from a medium-term perspective is food, which has 40% weight in CPI. Containing the food inflation despite 2 successive monsoon failures is some achievement indeed. Credit for this must go to the government's proactive management of food supply and fiscal restraint, low global food inflation, and the Reserve Bank of India's (RBI's) relentless focus on tamping down inflationary expectations. That sets the stage for favorable inflation to continue this fiscal as well if monsoon rainfall is normal, as seems the emerging consensus. So, the battle to rein in inflation at 5% in the current financial year seems to have been won. But has the war to douse, extinguish, price fires over a medium term been won? Consumers don't think so. Surveys by the RBI in January and March show that though consumer expectations on inflation for the 3 months ahead have declined by almost 2 percentage points over previous surveys, the 1-year ahead expectations have come down only by 0.6 percentage points and remain higher than current inflation levels. The inflation can rise if crude and commodity prices claw back significantly. In the sticky components, particularly health and education, lack of private sector appetite and the absence of adequate and good quality public provision of health and education challenge supply, while rising population and incomes are continuously pushing demand. Challenges ahead. While the 5% CPI inflation goal for March 2017 is achievable, the bigger worry for the RBI from a medium-term perspective is food, which has a 40% weight in the new CPI. The International Monetary Fund recently noted that high inflation in India was underpinned by elevated and persistent food price inflation, which cascades quickly into rural and urban wage and non-food inflation. Volatile components of food inflation. The inflation in prices of pulses and vegetables continue to spike or remain elevated. Not only has their inflation been sticky, it has also been characterized by high volatility. In the past 4 fiscals, on average, about 1.1% of the inflation rate was from pulses and vegetables. In the past fiscal, weather shocks caused pulses inflation to surge to 31.9% from 7.9% the previous year, which prevented a sharper decline in food inflation. As measured by the Wholesale Price Index, prices of pulses have spiked almost every 3 years and is the most volatile subgroup under the food index after vegetables. The past 4 years have seen CPI-based pulses inflation average 13.6%, the highest among food subgroups. Following pulses closely is the vegetables subgroup, which has also been very volatile with average inflation at 12.5% in the past 4 fiscals. Here again, low productivity is a structural glitch. Although growth in area under production has more than tripled since the turn of the millennium, output has grown at a slower pace, causing productivity growth to slump. How can we win the war on inflation? The upshot of all is that staying on the RBI's CPI inflation glide path is eminently achievable, but sustaining it around 4% from there on will be a challenge. It cannot be achieved without the government addressing structural bottlenecks in supply, and there are serious efforts to materially improve farm productivity. Indeed, The union budget for this fiscal has lent some thrust to agriculture. The next step is to relentlessly push for structural changes that will alter the face of the farm ecosystem itself. Only then can we hope to win the war on inflation for good.